ठीक है,
Okay.
बाय गाइस।
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. एक मिनट Hitesh, what I'm trying to do is I am trying to connect this two buds so that sound. तो आपको भी शायद ये करना पड़ेगा कि एक, क्योंकि आप एक लैपटॉप में से करोगे, एक इंस्टाग्राम में से करोगे ना।
मेरा मोबाइल से कनेक्टेड है और लैपटॉप में आवाज आ ही रही है, if I'm not wrong.
हाँ, तो एक में म्यूट करना पड़ेगा।
हाँ, इधर म्यूट करूंगा मैं।
मतलब सिर्फ ऑडियो म्यूट कर देना। हाँ
जी।
Zoom पे अपने आप को म्यूट मत करना।
ओके।
इसका वॉल्यूम जो है वो म्यूट कर दो ताकि
हाँ।
कोई प्रॉब्लम।
डन, आप बोलो खड़े, जब आप इंस्टाग्राम पे लाइव चालू कर दो मैं तब म्यूट कर लेता हूँ।
हाँ ओके, मैं कर दूं लाइव।
हाँ।
कूल। यप, आई एम लाइव। Yeah, I'm live.
हेलो।
Hi.
Hi, am I audible and visible both?
Yeah, you're audible, visible, all right.
Yeah, लॉकडाउन की यादें आ गई।
Long time. Shall we
Yeah.
just ask someone from the audience? Are both of us visible and audible, all right? Can someone please confirm? Let me see who all is there.
Hi Abhijit. Hi Redam. Just confirm if you are audible and visible both.
Are both of us audible and visible, all right?
I think we are. Let's start.
I'd like to think we are. Brilliant.
Yeah. Okay. So welcome to कुछ भी वार्तालाप. So हम दोनों को इंट्रोड्यूस करने से पहले मैं शो को इंट्रोड्यूस कर लेता हूँ। कुछ भी वार्तालाप एक इंस्टाग्राम का सेशन है जो आज आपको यूट्यूब पे भी अवेलेबल होगा। फिर इट इज बेस्ड ऑन के कुछ बातें शुरू होगी बेस्ड ऑन द गेस्ट करियर कि उन्होंने क्या क्या किया है, उसके अराउंड कुछ बातें शुरू होगी एंड देन द कन्वर्सेशन कैन गो एनीवेयर। आज का जो टॉपिक है दैट इज थिंकिंग क्रिएटिवली ड्यूरिंग स्ट्रेस एंड एंजाइटी, एंड उस पे कुछ बातें होंगी एंड उसके अलावा मनन से कुछ बातें होगी उनकी लाइफ की, but mostly the focus would be on thinking creatively during stress, anxiety, and other mental issues. So to introduce Manan, बहुत लंबा इंट्रोडक्शन है बट शॉर्ट में बताऊं, देन ही इज प्रैक्टिसिंग साइकेट्री, sorry, he's a yeah, gold medalist psychiatrist. He is currently practicing in UK. He is a 4-time TEDx speaker, and he is also the youngest doctor in India to be a TEDx speaker. So that is Manan Thakrar for you. And talking about me, this is Hitesh Anandani. I'm a copywriter, storyteller, and anything you can think about marketing, I am that person. And I'm also the host of the show. So, first of all, welcome.
Thank you, Hitesh. Thank you for having me, and welcome to everyone as well. It's lovely to be back again. We've done this a lot during COVID, I think. But काफी
Yeah.
time बाद we're doing it today, so it's lovely to be back as always. And by the way, Hitesh, being modest about his introduction, he has worked for a lot of national, international firms that you would have heard of. I'm not sure. I'm not naming them because I don't know what the copyright issues are, to be honest. But if you go to his bio, you'll see a lot of very interesting firms, and he has a very interesting body of work. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah. So, okay, the first question is कि जब भी हमने ऐसे थॉट्स में होते हैं जहाँ पे पूरा नेगेटिविटी होती है, तो उस थॉट का पैटर्न को ब्रेक कैसे किया जाए बिना ज्यादा मूवमेंट के? Because if you're working, okay, so if you're working in office and you are getting the negative thoughts in mind, so what you can do to get out of it without doing much, like without doing much physical movements.
I suppose whenever we're in a chain of thought, and one of the examples that any mental health professional would use is the more you try to forget a thought, the more you try to get away from a thought, the more energy you're investing into it, because our brain doesn't process no. So our brain, if you keep telling yourself, then this is an example that I'm sure you've heard, if you keep telling yourself कि मेरे को हाथी के बारे में नहीं सोचना है, I don't have to think about an elephant. The only thing that you end up thinking about is the elephant itself. And hence, it's very important to try and, rather than not think about something, it's really important to think about something which you like or which is productive. Because at the end of the day, it is your time is the biggest currency you have.
Okay.
Your time is the biggest currency you have. Your attention is the biggest currency you have. So if you value your time, तो आप उसमें से success, money, value, career, individuality, whatever you want to make out of it is essentially just a product of you investing your time and channelizing it in the right way, isn't it? So it's all about trying to invest your time at valuing your own time and investing it at the right place, which I think once we start doing, it's about just focusing on that.
Okay. So actually, I asked this question to psychologist before, and psychologist, she was psychologist. उनका ये था कि कुछ exercises होते हैं, जैसे कि when we are in a room, if we cannot move much, then we have to see कि we have to pick a color, के red color. तो red color की 4 चीजें आजू बाजू ढूंढो, blue color की 3 चीजें आजू बाजू ढूंढो, and then the other exercise is to hear the sounds and notice करना कि कौन सा sound है. तो उनके हिसाब से अगर सराउंडिंग से हम अवेयर हो पाएंगे तो थोड़ा इजी होता है वो चीज से बाहर निकलना. ऐसा और क्या क्या चीजें हम लोग ऑन एट दैट सिटिंग एट प्लेस कर सके, बिकॉज बहुत सारे लोग ऐसे ही होता है जिनका भले क्रिएटिव काम हो बट इट इज लिमिटेड टू वन डेस्क और समथिंग लाइक दैट.
Yeah. So what आपने जो अभी डिस्क्राइब किया is one of the standard CBT techniques, which is 5-4-3-2-1 technique आप बोल दो, which essentially asks you to focus on something else in a structured way. जो मैंने बोला कि we want to think about something else, but it gives you a structure as to what do you want to think about. At the same time, something that I've seen work massively for the people that I deal with is because essentially अगर आप biological basis देखो तो अपने brain में एक part होता है amygdala करके. अब ये जो एक ना इतना छोटा सा पार्ट होता है, it's a very small part. It is essentially the alarm center of the brain. So it's very interesting because what tends to happen is whenever a dog is running behind you, कुत्ता जब आपके पीछे दौड़ता है, तो the amygdala will tell, I think you've lost connection.
Hello.
You're back.
Yeah. Okay. So, sorry. Yeah, you're telling about the part.
When you're in a situation of crisis, when say a dog is running behind you, your amygdala will tell your brain that, dude, listen, there's a life threat going on right now. So it needs all the adrenaline that is there in the body needs to be going to your leg muscles, and your heart will start pumping more and more blood. So it directs all your resources towards the parts of the body that are needed to avert the crisis. जो crisis अभी create हो रही है, वो avert करने के लिए क्या करना जरूरी है, उस पे आपका बॉडी जो है वो क्राइसिस मोड में चला जाता है. दिस इज अ नेचुरल बॉडी डिफेंस मैकेनिज्म व्हिच इज गुड फॉर यू, बट व्हाट टेंड्स टू हैपन ड्यूरिंग दीस स्टेट्स ऑफ एंजाइटी और पैनिक इज इट मिसफायर्स. जैसे अपने ऑफिसेज में फायर अलार्म होता है जो मिसफायर कर देता है, तो वो मिसफायर कर देता है. एंड हेंस व्हाट टेंड्स टू हैपन इज कि आपकी एड्रेनलिन सिस्टम जो है, आपकी सिंपैथेटिक सिस्टम जो है, वो ओवरटेक कर लेती है आपके थॉट्स को, एंड यू स्टार्ट गेटिंग ओवरवेल्म्ड और इंटिमिडेटेड बाय द थॉट्स व्हिच आर डिस्ट्रेसिंग. It can be because if you go deep down into the content of this thought, of course there are techniques with which you can divert yourself, but why do you need diverting? What is the thought that is distressing? Let's peel one more layer and see what is it that is distressing you, what is it causing this. एक बार वो हमको पता चल जाए, then start working on that rather than just going away from that thought, because जब तक हम root cause को treat नहीं करेंगे तब तक ये चीज बार बार होती रहेगी. Every time symptomatic paracetamol काम नहीं करेगा जब तक अपन इन्फेक्शन को ट्रीट नहीं करते. And the right way to treat that infection is identifying what is troubling us, what is causing this false alarm to go off, identifying this कि okay ये false alarm go off कर रहा है, तो उसके साथ साथ मेरे को मेरा cognitive remodulation भी करना है. मेरे को ये सोचना है कि what is it that is troubling me, what is it that is getting in the way of my peace of mind, what is it that is causing me problems. उसको solve करते करते at the same time then using your CBT techniques or using deep breathing, because what happens in this is like I said, कि adrenaline rush हो जाता है. तो आप adrenaline rush को कैसे सबसे फिजियोलॉजिकली सबसे नॉर्मली आप कैसे कूल डाउन कर सकते हो इज थ्रू डीप ब्रीदिंग. एटलीस्ट 6 deep breaths in, 6 deep breaths out, and you'll see a massive change in your heart rate. तो अगर आपको एंजाइटी जैसा फील हो रहा है, आपको पैनिकी फील हो रहा है, just 6
हाँ
deep breaths and you'll see a massive change in the way you're thinking. आपका thought process slow down हो जाएगा, आपके thoughts थोड़े gather हो जाएंगे. You need to close your eyes, have 6 deep breaths, and then try to carry on or move to something else. But जब तक आप root cause को treat नहीं करोगे, we don't want to just keep running away from a problem that we are suffering. We want to treat the root cause for sure.
हाँ ओके सो या ऑडियंस में फिलहाल जो भी लोग हैं, अगर इफ यू हैव सम क्वेश्चंस यू कैन put it in the question mark section that is below in your screen. वहां पे एक आपको स्क्रीन पे आ गया क्वेश्चन का सेक्शन, वहां से आप क्वेश्चन डालोगे तो हमारा मिस नहीं होगा. इन केस चैट ऊपर स्क्रॉल भी हो जाए, देन आल्सो वी हैव द ऑप्शन टू वॉच इट. कुछ क्वेश्चंस ऑलरेडी मैं आप लोगों के ले चुका हूं दैट आई विल कीप एनीवेयर इन दिस सेशन. ओके सो सबसे लाइक एक चीज ये होती है कि जब भी कोई क्रिएटिव काम करने जाते हैं, इफ इट इज ऑन नेगोशिएशन, लाइक कुछ नेगोशिएशन की बात होती है, the other person always like most of the times the other person tries to share that you are not as much valuable as much you are asking for. ठीक है, उनका पहला लाइक जो कॉर्पोरेट में मैं समझा हूं, इन लोगों की टेक्टिक ये होती है कि उनको थोड़ा डी वैल्यू कराओ, सामने वाले पर्सन को उनको थोड़ा इनसिक्योर कराओ, एंड देन गेट द नेगोशिएशन दैट यू वांट, व्हिच मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स वर्क फॉर देम बिकॉज शायद इनमें क्रिएटिव जॉब्स अवेलेबल नहीं है, इसके लिए शायद वर्क कर जाता है. बट फॉर एनी अदर रीजन, तो मैंने बहुत लोगों को देखा है जिन लोगों ने खुद को फॉर मंथ्स डिवैल्यू कर दिया बिकॉज ऑफ दैट इंटरव्यू. एंड देयर आर टाइम्स के सामने वाला पर्सन सही में सच बोल रहा हो, तो हाउ टू लाइक जैसे वी आर वेरी सेंसिटिव टुवर्ड्स आर्ट, तो हाउ टू बी नॉट सेंसिटिव एंड टेक द थिंग एज वी वांट टू. एंड मोस्ट ऑफ द मोस्ट इंपोर्टेंट थिंग, ऑन द स्पॉट एनालाइज कैसे करें कि वेदर इट इज ट्रू और नॉट.
आप जो बात कर रहे हो, अगेन इफ वी पीलिंग अ लेयर, तो ये जो
हाँ
मैनिपुलेशन टैक्टिक है या टेक्निक है या ये जो नेगोशिएशन टेक्निक है, वो हमको पता भी है कि अपने साथ हो रहा है. व्हाट वी नीड टू डू इज कि वी नीड टू ट्राई एंड नॉट लेट इट अफेक्ट आवरसेल्फ. वो कब होगा?
हाँ
जब अपना एक सेंस ऑफ सेल्फ बहुत सिक्योर है. पता है, स्पेशली इन मेल्स, लाइक men enter into pissing contests all the time. You know,
ओके
we enter into contests about the silliest of things, and
हाँ
women are a bit more mature that way. Women won't do enter into petty. Well, they disagree. A lot of women would disagree with me on this, but women don't enter into petty pissing contests or ego contests as much as men do. Women have their own very different but very interesting way of fighting with each other, which is a very different topic. But the thing is कि that happens when we are very insecure within ourselves. अगर अपन अपनी सेल्फ इमेज में जो है, एक
हाँ
बुक में मैंने पढ़ा था, द वर्ड दैट दे यूज्ड इज कि आपका जो सेट ऑफ कंट्रोल है, वो सेट ऑफ
हाँ
कंट्रोल अगर आपका अपने इंटरनल है, आपकी जो सेंस ऑफ सेल्फ वर्थ है वो आपके इंटरनल है, तो वो हमेशा दैट इज अ वेरी गुड थिंग टू हैव. ऑफ कोर्स रियलिस्टिकली थिंकिंग, you will need, anyone needs validation from outside. If anyone is saying कि no I don't need any validation from outside, मेरे को तो कोई मेरे बारे में क्या करता है क्या सोचता है मेरे को तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, that person is obviously lying to themselves. So it's all about where does that insecurity come from. Does that insecurity come from somewhere, something that happened in our childhood? Does that insecurity come from something that is happening right now? Does that insecurity come from a sensitive part of us which we were told, like especially in an artistic field, what tends to happen a lot of times is there are two struggles going on. I know, but there's one struggle going on at home, because creative fields and artistic fields, to start with, for the first 5-10 years don't pay as well as a non-creative or a conventional job would. And hence your family members are always, of course, very worried about your well-being and kya hoga, what is the future, stuff like that. And then at the same time, you've got the financial bits or the job bits where you're hanging on to a job which is already very challenging, and then it's not doing any good to your self-respect as well. So in those cases, where is the revenue? जो कोई भी स्टार्टअप होता है तो उसका कैपिटल रेवेन्यू स्ट्रीम होता है. तो आपका कैपिटल रेवेन्यू स्ट्रीम जैसा आपका सेल्फ वर्थ का रेवेन्यू स्ट्रीम है कहाँ पे? Where are you getting it from? And that should come from a place of abundance. वो कैसे करें? that self-worth comes from a place of abundance, and for that to happen, we should have multiple revenues of income. We should have multiple sources of self-respect, multiple sources of self-worth. And that tends to happen when we have got multiple ways to make sure that we feel good about ourselves. That can be either अपनी relationships हो गए, either अपनी physical health हो गई, either अपनी mental health हो गई, either the fact that we're constantly evolving and learning something new हो गया, along with the fact that we're decent or good at what we do. So our sense of self-worth should come from the fact that, okay, I'm good at what I do. By the same time, I've got horizontal connections as well. I'm learning something new each day. I'm working on my physical health each day. By the time I go to sleep each day, I'm developing some new relationships. I'm having some sort of social contact. I've done something nice today. So ये 5, 6, 7 चीजों में जब अपना multiple revenue streams of self-worth आता है, तो when someone is bullshitting us, pardon my French, and telling you that you're not worth it, you will not panic. आपका amygdala fire नहीं होगा कि ओहो इसने तो मेरा insecurity touch कर लिया. नहीं, rather you will be much more relaxed. You'll say, okay, ठीक है. You will be able to call their bluff, because at the end of the day, deep down, you know that he's bluffing, and he knows that he's bluffing. It's about having that jigra, having that gut to call his bluff. That should come from a place of abundance, and that place of abundance comes when we know for a fact what we are worth, and that takes hustle. There's no shortcuts for that, because that takes hustle, that takes creating those multiple revenue streams. But knowing your self-worth then will come from a place of confidence. And कुछ जो vulnerabilities होती है ना आपकी, वो कोई explore ही नहीं कर पाएगा, या कोई exploit ही नहीं कर पाएगा, क्योंकि आपकी body language ही वो allow नहीं करेगी. In today's day and age, 80% of we massively ignore the importance of body language and non-verbal communication. 80 to 90% of communication is non-verbal. So when your body language is such key, it shows and it exhibits confidence. Don't know how many people have seen Suits or Mad Men, but अगर आप ये रेफरेंस को पकड़ रहे हो तो सूट्स में हार्वी स्पेक्टर की आप बॉडी लैंग्वेज देखो, या मैडमैन में आप डॉन ड्रेपर की बॉडी लैंग्वेज स्टडी करो, या रजनीकांत की आप बॉडी लैंग्वेज स्टडी करो, या पठान में शाहरुख खान की बॉडी लैंग्वेज स्टडी करो. These are body languages which ooze confidence. और कोई, I promise you, no one is born with that. Everyone cultivates it. People cultivate it through habits, people cultivate it through spending time with people who are successful, people cultivate it through reading books, but people cultivate it. No one is born with a magnetic or charismatic body language. But when you do develop that, when you do have that, which comes from a place of confidence, people will not be able to touch it. People will not be able to come close to those vulnerabilities, because unko pata hai ki I can't bullshit this person. I can't exploit this person, because that person knows that he'll call my bluff, because deep down I know I'm bluffing.
तो मैंने एक चीज ट्राई की, लाइक जब भी मेरे को ऐसा लगता है आई जस्ट स्मग. तो बहुत बार वो सामने वाला को आइडिया आ जाती थी कि भाई ये आई नो, देन ही ट्राइज टू फिगर आउट समथिंग एल्स टू पॉइंट आउट.
Exactly. Yeah. So that comes from a place of confidence, right? So the fact that you smirk when he says that, or you say, "Are you all right? Are you sure? Are you sure you mean what you're saying? Is everything okay? I'm just worried about you." These things will tell you that, okay, so I need to check कि कुछ मैंने गलत बोल दिया है. I've gone wrong somewhere, and you're not invading that person's personal space either.
Okay. So when we are at the other end of the table, when we are negotiating the rate, जो या कुछ भी हमने negotiate कर रहे हैं, so one of the incidents that happened कि I said कि भाई ये काम ढंग का नहीं है, like this is not at all what we have asked for and not at all what we are looking for. The way I said it, सामने वाला person 1.5 महीने तक कुछ लिख नहीं पाया. Like when I came to know, तो मैंने वो क्या मैंने डांटना कम कर दिया. I was just keeping in a way कि भाई डांटू ही नहीं है, and then उसके बाद ये हो गया कि लोग सर पे चढ़ के बैठ गए. तो it was hard for me to find a way जहाँ पे मैं सामने वाले को बता सकूं कि this is not why I have asked from, but in creative वो बहुत ego पे भी आ जाता है. तो from the point of a negotiator, what should you do? What is the ideal steps to keep the conversation constructive even if someone has the ego hurt?
Yeah. I think it's really important, because leadership or management positions are a lot about that. It's a lot about being fair to everyone while at the same time being honest. And it's something that I wouldn't want you to start off to be really hard on yourself or difficult on yourself and start blaming yourself for the fact that he could not write for 1.5 months. because that is an unfair way to look at it, because what led to that would also have been 1,000 things going on in his life. You wouldn't have been It wouldn't have been a one-off incident when someone has just scolded him once and then he stopped writing for 1.5 months. If that's the case, then he's not meant for it.
Okay.
As harsh as it sounds, the field either makes you or breaks you, be it a creative field or be it a professional field or be it whatever. You've got to do the hard work. You've got to, like, I'm sure when you were coming up and you were new to this field, people would have told you much worse, and you've been through it.
Yeah.
Right. So we live in a generation where everyone gets participation trophies, which I'm not a massive fan of. We should not get participation trophies. We should know where we stand. We should be in a setting where people are honest with each other. People don't need to be blunt or rude or bad, but honesty should have its value. Merit should have its value, and merit should be incentivized. Hard work should be incentivized. People should be rewarded for busting their asses and getting the work done. Otherwise, you won't have workhorses. So the fact that you were honest with him is a good thing. The fact that he could not write for 1.5 months is a sad thing, but I wouldn't want you to blame yourself completely for it, because there would have been 1,000 things going on which would have led to that probably being the final nail in the coffin. And of course, there's much to learn for him, and there's much to learn for us as well, in the form of you could have probably said things differently, and he could have interpreted things differently as well. Even like the simplest thing, like us doing this podcast, like if we get another chance to do this podcast, we'll be able to find out 5 different things that we could have done differently. But life is experiential. And always remember this, life is experiential. If life wasn't experiential, we didn't need to live. We didn't need to live. हम एक्सपीरियंस करके ही सीखते हैं. हर एक इंसान को एक हादसा जरूरी होता है, पढ़ के कोई नहीं सीखता है ना. तो it is okay, neither of you need to be too hard on yourself, but yeah, सीखना है कि I need to be firm, but I need to be fair. The system, as an administrator, as a leader, as a manager, you need to be really clear on what you are. And you need to not be afraid of the fact that people know where they stand with you.
Yeah.
As a manager, you should believe in fairness, not equality. The system should be fair. The system shouldn't be equal. If someone is working for 80 hours a week, the system should be fair to him, and the system should be fair to someone who's working 20 hours a week. The system cannot be equal to someone who works 20 hours a week and 80 hours a week, can it? Because otherwise, then there's no incentivization of hard work. Yeah. So the fact that you're fair, the fact that you're honest, and the fact that there is a certain policy under which someone needs to work, and that needs to be done. But otherwise, you'll see people who convey anger, dissatisfaction, disappointment in a much more non-verbal way and a non-confrontational way than a confrontational way as well. And that is where our intelligence comes into play, because we live in a generation where it's very easy to get caught up in things and get caught up in words, where people will take advantage of legislation and policies and intertwine you as the manager in having said something which was incorrect. And hence, it is very important for you to not get caught up in that. Right. Because that will end up damaging your career and your personal health. उसने तो 1.5 महीना नहीं लिखा, पर आपको भी 1 हफ्ता तो आपको भी बुरा लगा होगा. 1 हफ्ता आपका भी क्रिएटिविटी अच्छी नहीं रही होगी, आई एम श्योर, because I know you, I know the person you are. So it's about that, finding that balance. And काफी चीजें जैसे अपन क्रिएटिविटी में बोलते हैं ना, कि काफी चीजें स्टेज ही सिखाता है. हम लोग स्टैंड अप कॉमेडी करते थे, तो whenever we used to pick the brains of people, they would say कि ये कैसे करना चाहिए, ये कैसे, they'd be like, get on stage as much as you can, and the stage will teach. And there's nothing more than that. The stage teaches you. You go through these things, you experiment those things, you learn, and the stage teaches you.
How the most difficult thing for any creative person, and that is sitting idle. Yeah. So what happens, like एक ये होता है कि काम नहीं है idle, that is a different type of tension. But there's also another type of tension जहाँ पे काम आपके पास है, पेमेंट भी आ चुकी है, काम हो भी चुका है, अब नेक्स्ट काम आने वाला है अगले महीने. For the next 20 days, you are sitting idle with probably no work going to come in your hand. And even if you are earning more than your corporate job, तब भी दिमाग में ऐसा होता है कि नहीं यार, like 20 दिन बाकी पड़े हैं खाली, तो how to utilize them. अब जब तक वो काम आवे, तब तक तो दिमाग पूरा खराब हो जाता है कि भाई जस्ट कि हमने फ्री बैठे हैं. तो हाउ टू लाइक be non-creative and have the same thing and sit idle.
Right. So, yeah, I know what you mean. So, there's a saying कि जब समंदर में तूफान होता है तो जो
हाँ
मछुआरे होते हैं वो किनारे पे बैठ के जो नेट होते हैं ना वो सीव करते हैं. Anyone who's a content creator
हाँ
by first of all is a fan of the craft itself.
हम्म
Anyone who's a content creator, anyone who's sorry, just a second. Anyone who's a content creator, किसी भी इंसान ने जिसने कंटेंट क्रिएशन की इंडस्ट्री में या आर्ट की इंडस्ट्री में जाने का फैसला लिया है वो सालों सालों तक कंटेंट कंज्यूमर था पहले.
correct.
And we were people who were either reading or consuming content in the form of movies or in your case ads, series, movies, whatever it is. Spend that time in doing that. See what is up, क्या चल रहा है, what is in trend. Shahrukh Khan lost his career zero के बाद. Everyone
Yeah.
wrote him off. He took a break of 2 years. He went back. उसने तूफान था समंदर में तब तो मछुआरे ने क्या किया किनारे पर बैठा उसने अपनी जो नेट थी वो सी. He went through,
हाँ
he saw what sort of content is working, what sort of content is earning money, what is getting commercial success, which are the directors doing it, which are the script writers doing it, which are the music directors who are working. And he ended up doing one movie with Siddharth Anand, who's essentially produced back-to-back hits. Then he ended up picking Atlee. He's worked with, for this movie, he's worked with an entire crew which is not even known to the Bollywood industry.
Yeah.
But of course, this has created records already, and it's already a financial success. And then he comes up with Rajkumar Hirani. So how can you not succeed then? So जब आपके पास काम नहीं है, when you don't have content creation to do, is the time to consume content and get in touch with the basics. आपके basics ठीक करो, ज़्यादा क्या चल रहा है वो सीखो, कुछ नया सीखो, कुछ नई skill develop करो, क्योंकि you will run out of content creation. Like when I was, आज से 2 साल से मैं यहाँ पे हूँ, तो before that I was in India and I was doing like stage shows 3-4 times a week.
Yeah.
And I would do stand-up comedy and I'd do oration and I'd go speak at various places and everything. And by the end of it, I was done with content. मेरे पास था ही नहीं कुछ बोलने के लिए. And that you realize that okay, अब तो मैं खाली हो गया हूँ अंदर से. कुछ है ही नहीं मेरे पास बोलने के लिए, कुछ है ही नहीं एक्सप्रेस करने के लिए. So what do you do in that case? You make new content. And the way you make new content, the way you synthesize new content is by consuming as much content. क्योंकि बाहर कुछ है ही नहीं. जाकिर ने बोला था याद है एक बार कि कुछ नया है ही नहीं बोलने को. कोई नई इंफॉर्मेशन मैं आज नहीं देने वाला हूँ. मैं जो देने वाला हूँ वो जो इंफॉर्मेशन है वो एक अलग तरह से प्रेजेंट करके आपके सामने रखने वाला हूँ. That's about it. So जब समंदर में तूफान होता है तो मछुआरे किनारे पे रहते हैं.
ओके. वन अदर थिंग कि जब बहुत बार बहुत काम होता है लाइक जिसके लिए नींद कॉम्प्रोमाइज करनी पड़ती है एट दैट डे एंड मेरा ऐसा होता है कि अगर कम से कम लाइक अगर 4-5 दिन में अगर एक साथ नींद कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो भी रही है मेरी बॉडी ही खुद एक दिन थोड़ा ऐसा हो जाएगा कि भाई नहीं काम कर पा रहा हूँ मेरे को सोना ही पड़ेगा सर में डाल लूंगा एंड देन आई वुड रिकवर बट दैट इज माई बॉडी. हर एक के पास ये चीज नहीं होती है एंड समटाइम्स दे गो ऑन फॉर मंथ्स बाय स्लीपिंग जस्ट 2-3 आवर्स अ डे. जैसे मेरे लास्ट पॉडकास्ट में एक लाइन प्रोड्यूसर था उनका शूट पर यही होता था कि पिक्चर के शूट होती थी 16-17 घंटे बट लाइन प्रोड्यूसर यूज्ड टू वर्क फॉर 20 आवर्स अ डे. समटाइम्स दे यूज्ड टू स्लीप ऑन द सेट आल्सो. तो जब आपकी नींद आपको मालूम है कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो रही है फॉर लॉन्ग टाइम तब कुछ ऐसे एक्सरसाइजेस है जो आप कर सकते हो जो ऑन एट दैट मोमेंट आपको ज्यादा क्रिएटिव बनाए रखे कि आपका ज्यादा ब्रेन को ज्यादा रोक ना देवे क्रिएटिव होने से.
As a person who works in the mental health industry who knows how the brain works, you shouldn't compromise on sleep.
Okay.
It is plain and simple. Ki sleep, food, diet, half an hour to 45 minutes of exercise a day, there's no replacement for it whatsoever. उसका कोई replacement है ही नहीं. क्योंकि मिनिमम 6 से 7 घंटा नींद करनी चाहिए. Anyone in the world who says कि मैं 3-4 घंटे ही सोता हूँ या सोती हूँ is lying. And I promise you that they are lying. If they are in any sort of creative field, if they've achieved anything in life, कोई भी बंदा दिन में 3-4 घंटे सो के क्रिएटिविटी नहीं क्रिएट कर सकता, extraordinary success नहीं ले सकता, because that's not how the brain works. For the brain to create new thoughts, creative thinking is lateral thinking. Creative thinking isn't यूनिलैटरल, मतलब सीधा थिंकिंग नहीं है, लिनियर थिंकिंग नहीं है। क्रिएटिव थिंकिंग के लिए यू नीड टू, एंड ज्यादा से ज्यादा क्रिएटिव थिंकिंग कब होता है? You have those moments of epiphany, you have the eureka moments, you have the light bulb moments. You go back and read a मरी क्यूरी की बायोग्राफी पढ़ लो कि उन्होंने, जिन्होंने रेडियम डिस्कवर किया था, या आप आर्किमिडीज की बायोग्राफी पढ़ लो जिन्होंने द यूरेका यूरेका थिंग, द वॉल्यूम वाला जो किया था। ऑल दीज आर पीपल हु गेट दिस लाइट बल्ब मोमेंट। और वो कब आता है? when you've got a well rested mind which comprises all these thoughts that you are going through, उनको सबको साथ में इकट्ठा करके सिंथेसाइज एक नया थॉट करता है। दैट ओनली हैपेंस इन अ वेल रेस्टेड, वेल स्लेप्ट माइंड। अगर आपको ऐसा लगता है कि मैं 3-4 घंटे की स्लीप पे भी मैं क्रिएटिविटी कर सकता हूँ, तो वो आपकी सब ऑप्टिमल क्रिएटिविटी है, वो आपकी बेस्ट क्रिएटिविटी डेफिनेटली नहीं है। यू कुड डू मच बेटर। एंड हेंस 7 to 8 hours of sleep non-negotiable, food non-negotiable, exercise non-negotiable. And if you're able to manage these three things and even do a little bit of less work, you will definitely do much more quality work than any amount of quantity work that you do. And आप एविडेंस देखो ना, आप एविडेंस देखो कि जब गोविंदा था, वो नए नए मूवीज करता था, तो ही यूज्ड टू बी वेरी सक्सेसफुल. Then he started compromising on these basic things and started working on 4-5 shifts at once, and you start seeing a dip in his career. Whenever people have started working at the cost of quality, at the cost of sleep, at the cost of well-being, there will be a clear temporal relation between deterioration of quality.
Okay. So yeah, अब कुछ क्वेश्चंस जो ऑडियंस की तरफ से आए थे। पहला तो ये था कि when you know something is wrong, but before going to the psychiatrist or psychologist, you want to know कि आपके साथ क्या गलत है, because not everyone knows कि पहले सेशन में क्या होने वाला है आपके साथ, कि साइकोलॉजिस्ट और साइकियाट्रिस्ट क्या पूछेंगे, क्या रेकमेंड करेंगे, यू आर नॉट अवेयर ऑफ द हाउ द फर्स्ट सेशन इज गोइंग टू बी। सो बहुत लोग ये प्रेफर करते हैं कि दे शुड नो व्हाट दे आर गोइंग थ्रू, बट दे डोंट नो हाउ इज द राइट थिंग टू नो बेस, कि भाई एक बेस मालूम होना चाहिए। जैसे कि अगर छींक आ रही है ना, ये तो मालूम है कि भाई ठीक है छींक आ रही है, तो सिम्टम्स नोट करने के अलावा क्या चीज है जो हम लोगों को पहले जाना चाहिए, ध्यान रखे?
खुश ना होना, द इजीएस्ट थिंग इज खुश ना होना, या नींद ना आना, सिर दुखना पर कोई कॉज ना होना, मजा ना आना। जैसे आप पहले फंक्शन कर रहे थे वैसे आप फंक्शन नहीं कर पा रहे हो, जिस चीज में पहले मजा आ रहा था मजा नहीं आ रहा है। दीज आर बेसिक थिंग्स। और पहले एक सेशन या पहले 2 सेशन में कोई भी रिकमेंडेशन नहीं मिलने वाला है आपको, और कोई देता है तो वो भी गलत है, क्योंकि पहले 1 या 2 सेशन शुड बी फोकस्ड ऑन हिस्ट्री टेकिंग, कि आप पूरा आपका जो हिस्ट्री है, आप रूट कॉज तक जाओ, आप देखो कि क्या हो रहा है, क्यों हो रहा है, कैसे हो रहा है। और वो जब तक आपको पता नहीं चलेगा, कोई भी बंदा आपको ऐसा डायरेक्टली एडवाइस देने लगेगा तो वो साइंटिफिक नहीं है। क्योंकि जब आपको कोई चेस्ट इन्फेक्शन होता है, तो जो भी डॉक्टर होता है या जो भी थेरेपिस्ट होता है, वो आपका चेस्ट एक्सरे करता है और पता करता है कि कहाँ पे इन्फेक्शन है और उसको ट्रीट करता है, राइट? जब आपको लिवर इन्फेक्शन है तो आपके लिवर का स्कैन होता है। ब्रेन का वैसा कोई स्कैन नहीं है जिससे आपको पता चल सके कि आपको डिप्रेशन है। तो अपना जो डायग्नोस्टिक टूल है, वो डायग्नोस्टिक टूल इज हिस्ट्री। एंड जब तक ठीक से हिस्ट्री नहीं लोगे तब तक आपको पता नहीं चलेगा कि क्या गलत है, और जब तक आपको पता नहीं चलेगा कि क्या गलत है तो आपको उसको ट्रीट नहीं कर पाओगे। सो इट्स ऑलवेज अबाउट पीलिंग दोज लेयर्स and trying to identify as to what is the root cause, what is causing it. And once that is done, in mental health, 30 to 40% therapeutic value is just of catharsis or free association. Just that, identifying what the root cause is, will provide 30 to 40% alleviation of symptoms in a lot of cases. Not every case, but in a lot of cases, especially in cases where there is an acute stress which has caused it.
Okay. How to know whether we have to go to a psychiatrist or psychologist or to any person?
किसी के भी पास जाओ, they'll recommend the right place to go, if as long as they know, because different people have different skill sets. There are psychiatrists who very much practice therapy. There are psychologists who would practice therapy and then liaise with the psychiatrist based on what medications etc are needed. So just go to a mental health professional who is ethical, and that's all that matters at the end of the day.
एक क्वेश्चन ये भी आया कि व्हाट्स द डिफरेंस बिटवीन अ थेरेपिस्ट एंड अ साइकियाट्रिस्ट?
So mota psychiatrist is a doctor who's done MBBS and then done their masters. So a psychiatrist is a medical doctor जिसने पहले 12th में साइंस लिया था, फिर MBBS किया, अंडर ग्रेजुएशन किया, जनरल डॉक्टर बने, और फिर उन्होंने स्पेशलाइजेशन किया साइकाइट्री में. A therapist, a psychiatrist can also be your therapist. A psychiatrist can also be a psychologist. साइकोलॉजी की डिग्री काफी साइकाइट्रिस्ट ऐसे हैं जिन्होंने साइकोलॉजी में मेजर्स किया है, माइनस किया है, बैचलर्स किया है. साइकोलॉजिस्ट यूजुअली कन्वेंशनली जो साइकोलॉजिस्ट होते हैं, साइकोलॉजिस्ट ने इधर बीएससी किया होता है, एमएससी किया होता है, मास्टर्स किया होता है. तो these aren't medical doctors, but these are people who are specifically trained in giving therapies.
Okay.
Usually psychologists are not prescribers, but if you travel the world, this is a very mota, very broad definition, but you'll find exceptions every corner of the world.
So, like, जो एक बेसिक जो डिफरेंस आपने ये बताया कि साइकियाट्रिस्ट आर मेडिकल डॉक्टर्स एंड थेरेपिस्ट आर जिनने वो मेडिकली पूरा नहीं बट दे नो हाउ टू ट्रीट यू थ्रू थेरेपी.
Yeah.
ओके. सो हाँ, लाइक एक ये भी होता है कि समटाइम्स जो कुछ इशू हर बार क्रिएटिव नहीं होता है. लाइक समटाइम्स इट कैन बी ऑन जेंडर आइडेंटिटी, इट कैन बी ऑन अ फैमिली ट्रॉमा, इट कैन बी ऑन एनी अदर थिंग. अब हाउ टू नो वेदर which psychologist or which psychiatrist we should prefer? बिकॉज एक मैंने ये भी समझा कि जेंडर प्लेज समटाइम्स अ रोल बिटवीन अ पेशेंट एंड साइकोलॉजिस्ट थिंग कि भाई बहुत बार शायद सामने वाला जेंडर नहीं समझ पाए व्हाट यू आर गोइंग थ्रू, बट मेल मेल फीमेल फीमेल दोनों में ही होता है. तो व्हाट वुड रेकमेंड?
So there are a lot of mental health professionals who would advertise, who would be there out in the field nationally or internationally, who've done courses. You'll know if you start searching, say, gender identity specialists in your area, then you will identify people who specialize, have that special area of interest. You'll identify people who have neuropsychiatry, who've older people, who've got children, child and adolescent, who've got ADHD, autism. So you will identify people who've done their highest training or some sort of specific niche training in their special areas of interest. But at the same time, you will also find people who practice a little bit of everything and anything. So as long as you go to the right mental health professional who's ethical in their practice, either they'll give you the right treatment or they'll signpost you to the person who is right. I think as far as the normal public is concerned, the biggest challenge is going to a mental health professional. That foot in the door technique as far as marketing is concerned. Once your foot is in the door with the right person, I think everything else takes care of itself. Most mental health professionals are people who have been through some sort of mental health issues by themselves, and hence they would be very empathic towards whatever problems you're having.
Okay. No, it was like mine was regarding the earning stage, like what उन्हें recommend किया था कि it would be better if a boy is doing that, because he would be able to understand that psychology. I'm not talking about gender identity or gender confusion. I'm talking about being of the same gender and understanding things.
It depends. Yeah, it's an interesting question because you would find things to be very different. Like, say, if you're going through something, a relationship issue, would you want to have a therapist who's of the same gender as you, or would you want to have a therapist of the opposite gender? Because you would also want to empathize with the person that you're in a relationship with. In that case, a therapist of the opposite gender might be a little better. So there are pros and cons. Because therapy is such a subjective field, and because mental health is such a subjective field, there are going to be pros and cons. आप Mercedes चलाओगे या Tesla चलाओगे तो दोनों में थोड़ा बहुत advantage disadvantage होना ही है. But then as long as you're driving a good and safe car, that's all that matters. So I wouldn't want to pick a therapist or pick a mental health professional based on their gender. But at the same time, I would want to find someone who's very ethical and straightforward in what they do. And that would then help you get to the right position.
Okay. Yeah, this is one of my favorite questions. How to deal when you have a lot of pending work before deadlines? How to take that in a healthy way? I know नींद को compromise करना is not the right solution, but लोग करवाते हैं.
I think what tends to happen, and this might sound very like I don't believe in doing things in the last moment. I'm someone who always would recommend you to take the hard way out. Shortcuts will never get you anywhere. And I know this is a very like idealistic thing to talk about, but never take shortcuts. Never take shortcuts. Never focus or start working 5 days, 10 days before the deadline. Do the hard work. Put the efforts in when you have enough time. Only then you'll be able to enjoy the work. Because your best productivity will be created when you enjoy the work. And when you work 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, 10 days before a deadline, you're finishing the work. You're not enjoying the work. And you'll be able to enjoy the work only when you Do have a deadline. Of course, you'll always have a deadline. You'll have times when you need to finish certain things, but always do things in ample time. Don't leave it till the last moment. Plan things accordingly. If you've got things that you need to finish, finish them. But then make a promise to yourself that the next time I've got something to do, I've got a task to do, I'll make sure that I do it well in advance. I'll give myself enough time to enjoy, explore the subject, uh, and enjoy the process. Because at the end of the day, it is always about the process that we enjoy. It's never about the result. You got to celebrate hard work and you got to celebrate the process. The result takes care of itself.
Okay. Yeah. So, so there's one question like, sometimes a person is having multiple memories of something, like as you said कि जिसमें आप बोलोगे दिमाग को कि इस बारे में नहीं सोचना है, that is going to come. But this अगर वो anxious बना देता है, then उस वक्त like what is the long term solution of that? कि if these things are making you anxious, तो solution और इसका लंबा क्या है? Like on
इस
the
चीज का
spot you said कि भाई ओके सो जब भी ऐसे मेमोरीज आती है यू सेड कि भाई कुछ कंस्ट्रक्टिव हमने थॉट डाले, जैसे कुछ टेक्निक्स हम लोगों ने बताई थी, वो आपने बताई थी 5 4 3 2 1, दैट इज वन ऑफ द टेक्निक्स, बट बार बार यूज करने से क्या वो टेक्निक हर बार रिजल्ट देगी? इफ नॉट देन व्हाट शुड बी द आइडियल वे?
The ideal thing is treating the root cause, is acceptance of the root cause. Either the root cause is something that you can change, you can modify, or the root cause is something that you can't modify and you've got to work on acceptance.
Yeah.
तो अगर acceptance पे काम करना है तो reality orientation, acceptance, and then trying to make sure that what are the learnings out of that situation, making the best out of situation. Again, experiential. Life is experiential. We are going to make mistakes. We are going to be humbled. We are going to be, you know, realize that, oh, I could have done this differently. I could have done this differently, which is a good thing, which is a thing to learn from. But at the same time, it's very important to not be very hard on yourself and the other parties involved as well. So practicing gratitude, practicing forgiveness to yourself and the other people around you, and digestion of reality if it's something that we can't change. And if it is something that we can change, then giving a sincere effort and trying to make sure that you're doing the best you can. So that even if at the end of the day you don't get the result that you desired, at least you've given your best.
Yeah. And okay, so when your friend is going through something, it can be sometimes extreme. पहला ही thought जैसे बताया, it might be very extreme for you.
मतलब मैं समझा
Like,
नहीं, सॉरी.
okay, when you are talking to a friend, बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि the other person considers जो build up नहीं होता है, वो डायरेक्टली बॉम्ब ही फूटेगा, भाई मेरे को ये फीलिंग हो रही है. And most of the people who I have seen in the situation are not aware of what they have to say, what they have to do. क्योंकि पहला तो बिलीव ही नहीं होता है कि okay, someone is going to, because it is not on always on your face. ठीक है? When you know कि okay, ये सामने वाला हो गया, what are the things that you need to take care of and how you should be approaching that person?
Anyone who's going through mental health crisis, do you mean?
Yeah, and they have not taken help, like they are just confessing it to you for the first time.
Yeah, usually people do keep that's very common to happen, that people will leave it till the very very extreme, and it is only
Yeah.
जब सब पानी से ऊपर चला जाता है कि people start seeking help. That also is a breaking point, कि that barrier needed to be crossed and only then they did that. I think as far as well wishers are concerned, as far as people who love and care for such people are concerned, we need to be empathic towards them. Just try and make sure कि we sort of normalize it, जो बोलते हैं साइकोलॉजी की टेक्निक में कि थोड़ा नॉर्मलाइज करना है कि जो भी है वो ठीक है, ओके, वी आर विथ यू, व्हाटएवर इज गोइंग ऑन. मिनिमाइज नहीं करना है, ये तो सबके साथ होता है, ये कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. मिनिमाइज नहीं करना है, क्योंकि अगर आपके साथ 10 चीजें बुरी हुई हो और किसी के साथ 2 चीजें बुरी हुई हो, तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि वो 2 चीजें जो बुरी हुई है उसका दर्द नहीं होगा उसको, वो भी उतना ही दर्द करता है. So it's very important to just be empathic towards the fact that okay, someone's going through something. This is a person that I love and care for. Be kind to them, be nice to them, be supportive, not mock them. Just the usual be the nice person sort of things.
तो हाँ, एक जो कभी कभी काम है एम्पैथेटिक डेटे डेटे डार्क ह्यूमर जो बाहर आ जाता है, वो थोड़ा कंट्रोल करने का. ओके, सो अनदर थिंग कि जब सामने वाला रेडी ही नहीं हो, लाइक you know the other person is going through something, but the other person is not ready to digest the thing, कि वो मानने को तैयार ही नहीं है कि he is going or she is going through something. तब what are the ways you need to take care of that person? or you need to take care of what you're saying.
So you can take a horse to the water, you can't feed it. You can suggest something to someone, but you can't enforce it upon them. And it's
Okay.
क्योंकि वो उसकी जर्नी है, तो
हाँ.
उसको आप सपोर्ट कर सकते हो, उसको आप एनकरेज कर सकते हो, उसको आप बोल सकते हो कि देखिए कर सकता है, दिस इज समथिंग दैट वी कैन डू, दिस इज एन ऑप्शन
Hmm.
टू एक्सप्लोर. बट देन इंसिस्टिंग इट विल नॉट, क्योंकि मोटिवेशन दो टाइप के होते हैं साइंटिफिकली आप देखो तो. मोटिवेशन इज इंट्रिंसिक और एक्सट्रिंसिक. टिल द
Yeah.
मोटिवेशन इजंट इंट्रिंसिक, यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू डू एनीथिंग अबाउट इट. मोटिवेशन कैन नॉट बी एक्सट्रिंसिक. आप मेरे को 10 बार बोलो कि ये बैठ के होमवर्क करना है, बैठ के होमवर्क करना है, बैठ के होमवर्क करना है, ठीक से नहीं होगा. पर अगर मेरे को अंदर से आया कि मेरे को होमवर्क करना है तो ठीक से हो जाएगा. तो जब तक अंदर से नहीं आए तब तक ईदर कीप दैट पेशेंस और से द राइट काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स टू एनकरेज देम बट नॉट फोर्स देम. अगर आप फोर्स करोगे तो उल्टा होगा रादर. सो
Hmm.
a lot of times people say कि ओहो मेरा तो इमोशनल क्वेश्चन बहुत ज्यादा है, मैं बहुत इमोशनल हूँ क्योंकि मैं उसके लिए जो अच्छा है वो कर रहा हूँ. बट दैट्स प्रॉब्ली नॉट द राइट थिंग दो. अगर आपको कितना भी जोर से ट्यूबरक्लोसिस से बाहर निकलना है, पर अगर आप उसको आइसक्रीम खिलाते रहो तो उससे वो ट्यूबरक्लोसिस से बाहर निकलेगा क्या? उससे बेटर वो बंदा है जो सही दवाई देता है और बाजू में बैठ के चिल करता है. तो व्हाट इज इम्पोर्टेंट वो ज्यादा जरूरी है रादर देन मुझे क्या लगता है और मुझे क्या करना है. सो इट इज रियली इंपॉर्टेंट कि जो राइट थिंग है वो अपन करे रादर देन जस्ट हैविंग दैट इमोशनल इनकॉन्टिनेंस वेयर वी जस्ट हैव आवर थिंग. अपने को अपना कथारसिस मिल गया कि देखो भाई मैंने तो बोल दिया.
हाँ, बहुत बार इंटरनल सेटिस्फेक्शन हो जाता है अदर देन एक्सटर्नल सेटिस्फेक्शन. या. सो वन अदर थिंग के जैसे ये कहा जाता है कि सम पीपल से राइटिंग इज थेरेपेटिक, सम पीपल से डांसिंग इज थेरेपेटिक. हाउ मच ऑफ इट यू वुड एज अ साइकियाट्रिस्ट रिकमेंड दिस थिंग्स कि भाई कितने प्रोपोर्शन में ये होना है तो ओके इट इज, बट इससे ज्यादा सिर्फ इस पे डिपेंड करना सही नहीं है. लाइक व्हाट इज द साइन दैट यू शुड नो दैट यू शुडंट डिपेंड ऑन ओनली दिस थिंग्स.
ओनली व्हाट, सॉरी?
लाइक कुछ लोगों के लिए आर्ट एक थेरेपी होता है, एनी टाइप ऑफ आर्ट. इट कैन बी पेंटिंग, इट कैन बी डांसिंग, इट कैन बी राइटिंग, इट कैन बी एनी टाइप ऑफ आर्ट जो वो कहते हैं थेरेपी होता है. बट वुड यू रिकमेंड दिस थिंग एज अ थेरेपेटिक थिंग?
Of course, art has its own therapeutic value. In fact, agar aap,
Okay.
if someone's into reading, I highly recommend you a book called Man's Search for Meaning, which is written by
Hmm.
Viktor Frankl, which gave, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of that book. It's about the whole concept of logotherapy, कि
Okay.
जिसमें giving purpose to your life will always lead to your mental health being much more for someone. So the whole book is about this psychiatrist who was trapped in the Holocaust, and he observed and noticed a lot of people going through a lot of things, and he identified that people who have a purpose in life, people who either have someone to go to or have a mission to accomplish, will end up tolerating and having a lot more resilience than people who don't have anything to lose. And hence art therapy or any purpose in life will always going to be something which is very therapeutic, which is very good. By the same time, I'm not sure whether it would have value as a lone standing mode of therapy without any other form of support, क्योंकि रूट कॉज तो ट्रीट करना ही करना है,
Hmm.
एंड सिर्फ सिम्टोमेटिक रिलीफ से कुछ नहीं होना है. रूट कॉज को अपने को ट्रीट करना है. हाँ, as far as people who have autism is concerned, people who have ADHD is concerned, people who have learning disability is concerned, art therapy has a lot of beautiful evidence for those things. So again, that is a bit of a niche topic. But as far as people who have that sort of, especially a type of autism which is called savant syndrome, जिसमें people have a specific skill set, they're amazing at something, but they might struggle with other things. So it depends on a case-to-case basis as to what type of art therapy are we talking about, what primary cause are we talking about, and what sort of treatment are we talking about. But as such, lone-standing art therapy has a lot of value. It has a lot of evidence. At the same time, I'm not sure for depression, anxiety, or acute psychosocial stressor कोई आ गया, किसी का breakup हो गया, तो उसमें सिर्फ art therapy कितना supportive होगा.
Okay. एक जो बहुत ही सीरियस क्वेश्चन जो मेरे को मिला, लाइक एक्चुअल सर्विस सीरियस, बट लाइक इवन आई डिडंट नो व्हाट द आंसर वुड बी, कि जहां पे लाइक द पर्सन सेड दैट व्हाट डू यू डू व्हेन यू हैव लॉस्ट ऑल द होप एंड यू आर नॉट having any hope from the people who are nearby you, what to do? तो again one answer is just psychotic help, but उसके अलावा क्या?
When you don't have any hope from people around you, you've not lost all hope. You're just feeling hopeless. And it's
Okay.
important to identify that this is me subjectively feeling hopeless rather than me not having hope from anyone else. And that hopelessness is a sign of me not being very well in my mental health. कि I
Okay.
am feeling hopeless. वो अपने अंदर है. उससे आप कितना भी भागोगे, वो आपके अंदर है. सब्जेक्टिव फीलिंग है. तो उस होपलेसनेस को ट्रीट करना है. लोग जो थे वही हैं, वही रहेंगे. शायद थोड़े बहुत चेंज होंगे. बट जब तक अपन होप बाहर के लोगों में से ही रखेंगे, तो ऑफ कोर्स वी विल एंड अप डिसअपॉइंटेड इन वन वे और द अदर बिकॉज वी आर डिपेंडिंग ऑन अदर पीपल. एंड व्हेनेवर यू डिपेंड ऑन अदर पीपल, it is going to cause some sort of disappointment.
I think so question. Okay, but एक बार फिर भी late है. Hello, Dr. Thakrar. How can we deal with procrastination? I think we are covered.
I think अपनी generation में procrastination is something which is a lot in fashion. Like people find procrastination cool. And I was discussing this with a friend yesterday. A bunch of us as psychiatrists, we were together and we were discussing कि अपनी जनरेशन एक ऐसी जनरेशन है जिसमें एम्बिशियसनेस, प्रोक्रेस्टिनेशन, सब कुछ चीजें कूल है कि ओह मैं तो ये आई लाइक पुटिंग ऑफ वर्क, आई लाइक, मैं तो बहुत एम्बिशियस नहीं हूँ, मेरे को तो बहुत नहीं करना है. क्यों नहीं करना है? Why do you not want to achieve your potential? Why do you not want to be the best version of yourself? Why do you not want to work hard? You get one life. फिर सोना है. आप इस दुनिया में सिर्फ 70-80 years के लिए जी रहे हो. फिर तो सोना ही है. उसके पहले भी सो रहे थे, उसके बाद भी सो रहे हो. तो I feel procrastination comes from justifying laziness. And the day, and sorry to sound harsh again, but I am someone who will tell you as it is. Procrastination comes from justifying laziness by calling it cool. And you shouldn't call laziness cool. Simple as that.
Yeah. Parkinson's law, is it connected to any conversation we had?
Yeah. So Parkinson's law essentially states that, did Shreyasi say that? Yeah. So Shreyasi is an eminent psychiatrist herself, by the way. Hi, Shreyasi. She's a very dear friend of mine. And Shreyasi, Parkinson's law is very right in this situation specifically because it's a law which essentially states that the task that you're supposed to do fits in the time that you allot to it. So if you allot, आप ऐसा सोच लो कि भाई मेरे को घर साफ करने के लिए 2 दिन देने, और आप उसको 2 दिन का टाइम दो, तो उतने में फिट हो जाएगा. एट द सेम टाइम अगर आप किसी चीज को 5 घंटे का टाइम दो, तो 5 घंटे में वो फिट हो जाएगा. So Parkinson's law essentially states that, and that is a very efficient form of time management. At the same time, there's another technique called Pomodoro technique, which is also very interesting. But essentially, time being very aware as to what your strengths and limitations are, having that estimate कि मेरे को ये चीज करने में इतना देर लगता है, and allotting that amount of time is a smart way to work around procrastination. But I think that the root causes, calling procrastination or laziness cool, is probably not the right thing to start off.
Okay. एक क्वेश्चन है, हाउ टू डील विद एग्जाम फेलियर, बट आई वुड थोड़ा डीप में उस पे पूछना चाहता हूँ. लाइक देयर समथिंग कि भाई लोग ऐसे होता है फेल होने पे, लाइक इट इज द सजेस्टेड थिंग टू मूव ऑन. बट बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि भाई ठीक है, समझे ही नहीं हमने, मूव ऑन कैसे कर लो. या फॉर मी लाइक अमाउंट ऑफ सिटिंग इज इम्पोर्टेंट कि भाई नहीं तो मालूम ही नहीं पड़ेगा क्या गलत हुआ.
Yeah.
देन लाइक व्हाट वुड यू रिकमेंड एज अ साइकियाट्रिस्ट?
To start off, the first thing with regard to that question, ki how to deal with exam failure, is ki knowing the fact ki everyone fails at something. Everyone fails at something. Everyone has one thing which has their number. For every Sachin Tendulkar in the world, there is a Shane Warne. For every David Beckham, there's a World Cup. For every legend that you know in the field that you're in, there would be something at which that person's failed. And failure just teaches you to, humbles you probably a little bit, but at the same time teaches you that you're human. And you shouldn't, it's a very easy thing to say to not take it to heart. It does get to heart. It does affect your self-worth. But you should take some heart from the fact that everyone's going through something. Everyone has failed at something or the other. And you should take heart from the fact that your struggle is about something else. Someone else's struggle would be about something else. And everyone has that one thing which has their number. And it's all right. It's God's, or if you believe in God, if you believe in spirituality, it's God or nature's way of teaching you to be humble and to work on yourself. And it's a good thing. It's probably not the worst thing in the world. And at the same time, it's really important to tell yourself that it's not permanent. Failure never is permanent, because if you really want to change it, you will be able to change it. You know that deep down in your heart. So yeah, is a
Uh,
broad way of telling, probably not just exams.
yeah. And okay, so अब like ये चीज के the ultimate thing कि बहुत बार ये होता है और लोग कि छोड़ के जाते हैं आर्ट करियर टू समथिंग फॉर कॉर्पोरेट. बहुत बार ये होता है उनको कि भाई अगर ये कर लिया होता तो अच्छा होता. एंड बहुत बार आर्ट वालों को होता है कि वो कर लिया होता तो अच्छा होता. अब व्हेन वी गो इनटू कॉर्पोरेट इट इज सेइंग कि भाई यू शुड नो वेयर यू स्टैंड, you should know where your skills stand, and based on that you need to make a decision. Other than that, what factors would you consider
Meaning
other than the skill set?
temperament.
As in,
Temperament is very important. I think skill set is of course skill set is important, because but skill set is something that can very well be cultivated. Again, I'm going to quote Zakir for the same thing. Zakir ने अभी बहुत recently बोला था, अगर आपको याद है या देखा है तो, कि आप कोई भी चीज में आप ज्वाइन करोगे और कोई भी चीज में आप लगन से मेहनत से काम करोगे ना, तो हो ही जाता है. हो ही जाता है, क्योंकि उतना ही चीजें होती है किसी भी फील्ड में सीखने के लिए, और अगर आप मन लगा के दिल से सीखते हो तो हो ही जाता है ज्यादातर. So it is your temperament, it is what you enjoy, and it is your work ethic which matters, I think, personally. Ki I've always told this in a slightly cocky way that I'll probably never be the most intelligent person in the room. I sure as hell will be the most hardest working person in the room. And if you can say that with confidence, that you're probably going to be the most hardest working person in the room, and the day you're not, change the room. The day you feel कि अच्छा मैंने कर लिया, ये सब हो गया, I've been the hardest working person in the room for a long time, change the room. Challenge yourself again. Because if you keep being the hardest working person in the room for a long time, then you're not progressing. So
yeah, like ठीक है. uh, your views on anti psychiatry for इसके बारे में मेरे को पहले समझना पड़ेगा anti psychiatry होता क्या.
So it's again a little bit of a niche question, but there's this whole movement of anti-psychiatry. There's a lot of books written on it as well. A lot of people feel that psychiatry or mental health is just like a foe, which is so Thomas Lang, Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard. Scientology के बारे में शायद आपने सुना होगा. So these are people who've done a lot of work against psychiatry, who feel that psychiatry is not an actual science, who feel that psychiatry is just one way of dumbing down or numbing down people who are deviant or different from the normal population. And a lot of people who are anti-psychiatry are also against the conventional form of society as it exists. So you'll find a lot of people who are anti-psychiatry are also against anti-legislation, who are anti-against federalization, who are also anti-against jailing people, institutionalizing people. But then that's a very controversial topic, but at the same time, you can't refute science. So a lot of this is based on conspiracy theories. A lot of it is not evidence based. And this is like believing in the flat earth theory. So you can't do much about people who believe in Donald Trump, flat earth, and anti psychiatry. They just exist, and you've got to allow them to exist.
Yeah. Okay. So now the thing is that is जब आप खुद stand up comedy कर रहे थे, you being a psychiatrist, you studying psychology, you would have faced a few things जहाँ पे आप psychologically कहीं ना कहीं रुके होंगे.
Psychology के लिए
मतलब कहीं ना कहीं आप भी कहीं ना कहीं रुके होंगे and the brain have stopped you. कहीं ना कहीं ये मोमेंट आया होगा. Now
किसने
for
स्टॉप किया होगा?
के ब्रेन के थॉट्स ने आपको कहीं ना कहीं स्टॉप किया होगा.
हाँ.
अब जैसे लाइक आई हैव सम फ्रेंड्स इन साइकोलॉजी एंड उनका यही होता है कि भाई जो चीज वो लोग क्योर कर रहे हैं वही चीज उनको रोक रही है, तो वो थोड़ा और ऊपर ऊपर आ जाता है. तो व्हेन इज द राइट टाइम, तो एज अ साइकोलॉजिस्ट कब तक सेल्फ ट्रीटमेंट सही है, कब तक दूसरे के पास जाना सही है?
I see. Okay. No, I think self care is probably when you start noticing that you're falling into the same patterns, you're struggling to manage things by yourself. When you feel like, okay, मेरे को इसका रास्ता नहीं मिल रहा है, I'm not able to come out of it. I'm not able to come out of this rut. Of course, there's two things. So there are things where you try and solve things by yourself. You try and develop those coping mechanisms, those skills that you usually use to get out of ruts that you fall into. And you wouldn't want to go to a specialist for every small thing that you're going through, which is very understandable. But at the
Yeah.
same time, if you feel like you're falling into the same patterns again and again, if you're falling into the same rut again and again, if you feel like there's no way out, I'm having some questions, but I'm not finding answers to them. That typically would say, ki, okay, chalo, let's start exploring things outside.
Yeah. Okay, done. And I think some people have joined. So if there are any last questions, you can throw it on us.
We've got about 10 people.
Yeah. Like it has been changing. कभी चार हो रहे, कभी कम हो रहे. Yeah. So any last questions, if anyone has. By the way, जब YouTube के लिए रिकॉर्ड हुआ था, मेरे को ध्यान ही नहीं, मैं बहुत टाइम में फिल्म के बाहर था.
Oh, right.
My whole focus was on this mobile screen. तो भाई मैं ये.
No, I've been observing it's slightly
Yeah.
off frame, but you're all right.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not seeing any questions as of now.
Okay.
Okay. So having dated so many people, आर्टिस्ट में सबसे ज्यादा आपको क्वेश्चंस क्या मिलते हैं? बेसिकली एनी आर्टिस्ट तो उनके ट्रीटमेंट में सबसे ज्यादा दिक्कत क्या आती है आपको?
With, I don't know, that this is probably something which I've seen कि artists के साथ personal life tragedies usually बहुत ज्यादा होती है, which is a good thing and a bad thing, because art always comes out of some sort of struggle, be it comedy.
Okay.
Even if it is comedy, even if it is music, even if it is poetry, even if it is a wholesome Bollywood movie which has love angles to it, it usually comes from the fact that there's always been some struggle, and hence I've seen people who are good artists always channelize their struggles into the artistic form, and
Yeah.
hence it's digesting that personal life side of things, which usually is very difficult. Like Puvan Bam, he lost both his parents to COVID within a span of 1 or 2 weeks. And उसने तब जब he kept that thing, तब जाकिर ने उन पे उसकी पोस्ट पे कमेंट किया था, which has absolutely stuck with me. And probably this is the one line with which I'd want to leave everyone, is कि जिनके समंदर बहुत गहरे होते हैं, उनके आसमान भी बहुत ऊंचे होते हैं. तो
या एंड एक जो चीज मैंने नोटिस किया है कि व्हेन यू नो अबाउट सम साइकोलॉजी ट्रिक्स, तो साइकोलॉजिस्ट या साइकियाट्रिस्ट को करने का ट्राई कर रहा होता है, व्हेन दैट पर्सन इज ट्राइंग टू गो डीप इन यू एंड यू आर अवेयर ऑफ दैट, बहुत बार लोग उसको जाने नहीं दे पा रहे तब, जब व्हेन दे नो व्हाट इज हैपनिंग. So in that situation, like letting go is one of the, at the end of the day you have to let go, but how to do that easily, जहाँ पे someone is trying to help you but you're not able to understand कि भाई वो ठीक है, मतलब that that person is trying to help and because of that you're not able to digest it. Yeah.
What I would say is just get your bum to the psychiatrist or the psychologist. Leave the rest up to them. They know how to do it.
Okay.
आप किसी सर्जन को टेबल पे जा रहे हो तो सिखाना नहीं पड़ेगा कि मुझे एनेस्थीसिया दे दो, फिर यहाँ पे कट मारो, फिर ये करो वो करो. Once you're there, the professional would know how to make that rapport with you, how to make you feel comfortable, how to make you feel कि okay, this person's not here to judge me. People are well-trained professionals who've been dealing with this for years and years. So once the struggle as far as a person getting into the office is the biggest struggle, I feel. Supply और demand का problem नहीं है, access का problem है. एक बार access solve हो जाएगा तो supply demand दोनों है, बाकी सब कुछ हो जाएगा. But it's just that don't leave it to the point where you end up starting to have thoughts of ending your life. If you do, of course, तो भी चाहो ही, but उतने end तक आप रखो, उससे पहले अगर हो सके तो पहले आ जाओ, तो बेटर है.
Yeah. And एक वो होता है कि साइकोलॉजिस्ट का या साइकेट्रिस्ट कब स्विच करना इज राइट, क्योंकि एक ये भी होता है कि वी हैव टू गिव देम अ चांस टू अंडरस्टैंड अस, बट इफ द रिजल्ट इज नॉट कमिंग आउट, देन लाइक एक जैसा होता है कि 2 सेशंस हमने दे दिए, उसके बाद वी नो कि भाई क्या करना चाहिए, बट आर 2 सेशंस इनफ फॉर टू गिव टू अ साइकोलॉजिस्ट और साइकेट्रिस्ट?
रिजल्ट्स नहीं आएंगे 2 सेशंस में, बट 2 सेशंस में आपको इतना तो पता चलेगा कि मेरा रैपो एस्टैब्लिश हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है. थेरेप्यूटिक इफेक्ट आपको महसूस होगी. तो थेरेप्यूटिक इफेक्ट, एक रैपो बिल्डिंग थेरेप्यूटिक इफेक्ट इतना तो महसूस होना चाहिए इन द फर्स्ट 3-4-5 सेशंस. अगर आप किसी के साथ 2 घंटे स्पेंड कर रहे हो और आपको कॉन्स्टेंटली एक फ्रिक्शन लग रहा है, कॉन्स्टेंटली ऐसा लग रहा है कि यार ये सेम वेवलेंथ ही मैच नहीं हो रही है, तो समझ सकते हैं अगर किसी और के पास जाने की आपको इच्छा हो. एंड इट इज नॉट समथिंग दैट इवन द प्रोफेशनल शुड टेक पर्सनली, क्योंकि ये होता रहता है सबका. एवरीवन, लाइक वी सेड, एवरी सचिन तेंदुलकर हैज अ शेन.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, like I'm done. If anyone has the questions, and till then, thank you so much for taking this time out. We
Thank you
have
so much,
ended.
Hitesh, for having me. It's always been interesting to have conversations, and yeah,
Yeah, I hope we will meet soon. You're coming to
absolutely.
India, and all the best for what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you, and all the best to you too.
Thank you. So let's meet soon.
Brilliant.
Also,
Thank you.
yeah. And for the followers of Manan who don't know me, I am going to have such sessions regularly. They might not be on mental health, but they would be on something creative aspect of her life. Like the next section that I'm going to have is with a national award winning actress. She has started a clothing line too, so there are two aspects: business and creative art. And it would be like understanding the room, taking things with the flow, and when you have to do it strategically. उस पे चीजें कुछ बात होने वाली है. Then we are going to have a conversation with the assistant director of Tumbad, Shanghai, or Lucky Lucky UI, and we are going to have some other sessions. Like I am probably trying to have a session with a marketing consultant of a Bollywood movie. We might have a session with a Gujarati movie director too. So stay tuned and follow me. And for any type of help, you need, any type of questions you want to ask, I know Manan would be ready to answer it on messages, or he would share some time when he can devote it to you and answer it in a better way. So I'm sure any type of help you need, Manan is the right person to contact. And if he won't be able to go help you, then he would suggest the right person too. So yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Hey. Yep, the video is saved.
Just a second. हेलो, आवाज आ रही है आपको मेरी अभी?